Hi, Charu. How are you? Great. It's the last Friday of the year of 2024. Great to have you on our podcast platform.
Pleasure, Gaurav. Pleasure's all mine. I think we are one of the few people who are working towards the end of the year. So let's make the most of it and end the year with joy and happiness.
Yeah, those are the words very close to my heart, as you know. But but yeah, another topic that we are discussing today, very relevant in today's kind of ecosystem, is about culture, right? And again, I think an overused and sometimes abused of a word, culture. But how do you make it tangible? How do you make it real? And how does it have an impact on the people, people side of the business as well? And then the retention, how do you help that in the whole retention piece is I want to touch upon. So just before we dive into the topic, Charu, maybe a quick introduction to the audience and why do you care about why are you passionate about culture as a subject would be great to begin with.
All right. Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm Charu Gulati, 25 plus years of experience in HR. The domain that I love, I live and I breathe, I would say. I think it because it's a domain of people, building relationships, building connections. That's what I've done all my life. While I started my career with operations and the business side, but uh, I think I was just fortunate enough to be associated with organizations that also allowed me to think what I really want to do and ended up being in a place and the function that I truly love the most. Was also fortunate to move industries within my short career span of 25 years. Many more to go, hopefully. And look forward to enriching conversation with Gaurav now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It's our pleasure for sure. So diving into culture. So what does culture mean for you, Charu? I know it's a very broad question, but let's start broad and understand what is your take on the whole culture side of things.
I associate everything, Gaurav, with family values and systems and beliefs. And I think it is very personal to everybody. What each one of us do in our own families is what we really take outside to the world. We try and adjust in between with people that we are working with, but it's your own value system and belief system that really defines the culture. You do align yourself with the organization that you work for, but ultimately you also associate and stay long enough in an organization if it matches with your thoughts, beliefs, and ethos. And that's what really culture is for me. It's your entire belief in what's right and what's not right. And then you align yourself to the larger ecosystem.
No, that's beautiful. I think with that analogy of family values and culture, right? So usually what happens is that when you are a part of the family, you're in a very close group, and your upbringing is in a way which can make you attached to that culture. But in an organization, people from different realms of life are coming together, right? And they may have very different values at their home. So then how do you take those diverse people coming from different parts of the realms of their lives and come together and create one culture for the organization? How does that happen?
Well, that's also a definition of one aspect of culture, Gaurav. How do you embrace inclusivity and build that as one of the intangible aspect of a culture? Organization's culture is defined into various English phrases, if I may say so. It's a culture of trust, it's a culture of transparency, it's a culture of inclusivity, it's a culture of openness, it's a culture of communication. You can name it. And all of this put together is what an organization ends up forming a framework, which then becomes the ethos of the organization and it continues to spread its wings. Then, whether the organization is 50 members strong or 50 lakh strong, it just has to pass on from one generation to the other.
Yeah, lovely. And it does get passed on from one generation to the other. And I think we've seen enough examples of it.
Yes.
So it's so important to start giving it importance whenever you can, right? Because it's just going to kind of spear from there. So great. Now, Now, Charu, one thing that people have always talked about, that culture is very intangible, right? It's not tangible. It's not something that you can easily measure. And something which is intangible is also hard to develop because you don't know how to measure it and you don't know how to kind of scale it as well over the period of time. So, any tips for an organization to first understand where they are on the culture side of it and then kind of scale it if it's a favorable culture that they have been able to create in the organization?
Um, I'm sure there are better leaders in the market outside today who can give tips on, whether it's intangible, what's the measurement system. The funny thing is that we all want to measure everything, and unfortunately, it's not something which is very easy. And I love to sort of correlate everything to the family. How would you correlate, Gaurav, whether you're doing a right job as a parent?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult question to answer. But if you have the right intent for your child, and if you put the child in front of what you want to do, before how you want yourself to do, but what is the good for the child, I think it all comes together. And there is no perfect way, right? So I think that's the parallel that you want to draw in this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So, intention and personalization are the two key aspects of uh, intangibility, if I may just want to call it. There'll always be intangibility and tangibility to everything that we do. If I were to give you a home example, you want to teach your child honesty, you want to teach your child to trust others, not to trust others. But the tangibility is that at what age will you start trusting? At what age will I allow you to start trusting others? At what age will I pull off the timing restrictions from you? Similarly, organizations follow a simple belief as well. What is intangible is trust. What is intangible is your value system. What is intangible is your vision. What is tangible is your procedures, your policies, your town halls, your engagement surveys. So there is an intangible aspect to um, launching tangible things, which will have a measurement, because a town hall survey will have a measurement, retention will have a measurement. If you're running in an industry, comparable competitors, and your retention is the highest amongst everyone else, it means somewhere you're doing the right things. Can you point out what is that intangible or tangible thing? Maybe, maybe not. But what is it that you're consistently driving from one generation to the other generation of the organization today? Also talks hugely about your success. Is the organization growing, and therefore are the people growing within, is also an aspect of a great culture. Are the organizations helping employees thrive and flourish in their jobs and their personal lives? Is one aspect of looking at intangible and tangible. So I can't put a finger on one particular aspect and say this is intangible, this is tangible, and therefore this is the right metric. But it's a combination of what is it that you want to drive. I mean, we all, and I'm not taking names of any of the organizations that I have been a part of, but as viewers outside, we all associate, or we all consider Tatas to be up there in terms of how they look after their employees. So there are policies and procedures that exist in Tatas as well, which means they are governed by a certain framework. But how they feel in an organization, there is no framework of that, because everyone's made to feel good. And that made to feel good is by behaviors, is by how you're conducting yourself in meetings. Are you providing a safe working environment to everybody while being guided by a framework of policies on transport, policies on engagement, policies on leaves, etc., etc.
Sure. And I want to draw now to the whole conversation of retention and attrition, right? And how does culture make an impact there? I mean, and does it also has an impact depending on the size of the organization? So let's say if a smaller organization has a culture, will it impact attrition in one way where versus a larger organization with the same culture, and how does it impact attrition or retention there? So some of your experiences in context to that would be super useful.
So, Gaurav, once again, I've had the experience of both, and now I have many colleagues who work in different types of organizations and industries. Uh, I'm currently associated with an organization which is only 50 people. I come from an organization when I left, it was 80,000 people, but I've seen it grow. The common themes that exist, and irrespective of the size of the organization, is do you really belong there? um, are you happy coming to work every single day? A third of our day is spent in the office. A third of our day is spent coming and going away from office and thinking about it. And only a third of the days to be spent with family. And out of that, also, we are talking a lot about what really happened at work. What am I doing? Am I making uh, any contributions to the organization? Is the organization recognizing what I'm doing? Are all aspects of how I'm made to feel during any day of my life, for which I am very proud of. So a sense of belonging, I think a sense of recognition, a sense of appreciation, a supportive environment, um, a shared vision and purpose, the organizations grow, we grow, are all some of the elements of high retention or being associated with an organization for long. I'm not saying people do stick to the organizations for their entire careers. There are many options today. People also have different goals and aspirations at different points in life. But if you've given enough time to the organization and vice versa, it it sort of teaches you things for the life, and you will always speak great things about it.
No, absolutely. I think very beautifully said. And you're right. It does have an impact on how a person think about before even leaving, like whether I'm going to get the same culture or not, because that's an important aspect when someone is making that switch or thinking about their next move, right? So yeah. So just I want to go back to this whole culture, retention, and the third angle of technology, right? I think there are tools and platforms available today, which wasn't the case maybe a decade back, right? And one way is to just ignore them all and just be where you are. Or second is to use them and enable that creation or scaling of that culture. So what are your thoughts on those tools? Are you using any? I mean, have you used them in the past? Do you think that you find them useful? Just would like to kind of understand that bit.
I'm a big fan of technology, Gaurav. Anything that can be made simple, anything which enables optimum utilization, which increases operational efficiency, I'm a big fan. I mean, I come from an organization that thrives on innovation and technology. So I just love technology. Um, However, my personal belief also is, and I would share a quote shared by somebody when I attended a session many years ago, was while technology is good, but you can't have emoticons replace emotions. Um, and you have to have the right balance. There are jobs that can be outsourced, there are jobs that can be technologically enabled, but the personal touch point should never be taken away, because we all need love and affection. um, a payroll is being processed is a given today, which was not a given 40 years ago, but well-being and being respected is something which is the need of the hour today. There is, I think, yeah, more than before. I'm not sure if you, the whole internet today is flooded with Gen Z. Uh, these are the future of tomorrow. Between 11 and 26 years of age is really the population that is really, really coming up. And these guys are limitlessly confident.
Hmm.
Uh, they are fearless. Uh, at the same point in time, they are extremely vulnerable to emotions. So,
Hmm.
how do you deal
Hmm.
with this generation?
Wow.
They're super
Hmm.
clear. We weren't super clear 40 years ago, I'm sure.
Hmm.
We were just thrown into whatever, and we, I think, adapted ourselves fairly quickly. But the generation today is not the same. And are we really ready to take care of their vulnerabilities, their emotions, their needs in a manner which balances technology and emotions, is really going to define how successful we are tomorrow.
Yeah, very, very, very well said. So, just from that cue, we're talking about Generation Z or today's generation, right? And the HRs that are coming into today's world. When you were coming into or stepping into this HR world 25 years back versus somebody who's just coming into it now, what advice do you have, and more specifically in the concept of culture or retention or attrition, in that space, what is that advice that you want to give a young HR coming into the space?
I think we're very close to the business. HR has moved from transactional to very, very business focused. Understand where you are, which industry you belong to, which industry you want to build your career into, and engage. Find a purpose, have a sense of a shared vision with the leader of the organization, uh, and ensure that everybody in the organization understands that vision.
Hmm. Hmm. And that's easier said than done, right? First of all, first understanding the vision by itself takes a lot from you, and then translating that vision to something tangible and making others to understand it, I think that's a very difficult space to be in. So any tips to make that happen?
I personally think everybody should have a 1 year stint in the business in any function. It's very, very important. Back in the day, Gaurav, HR was what we had genuinely read in the textbooks: process payroll, run the form, do the onboarding, um, have the right organogram, etc., etc. All the right things that were taught to us, we implemented, and the organizations grew. Today, it's about personalizing it, as I said a few minutes ago. It's about having an impact on every single person. I'm not saying we should have 5 lakh policies for 5 lakh people in the organization, but but have flexibility around what is it that you can offer to your people. Um, I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and he made a very interesting comment. He says, number one, it's not a one size fit all place anymore. Number two, please understand that the generation today of wants a bouquet of things. However, you're used to always giving a thali to everybody. This is the thali, this is pre served, this is pre portioned, please eat. And today, they're looking for a large, lavish bouquet of flexible work environment, technology enabled. I can work from anywhere. I want my maternal and my paternal benefits. Don't ask me questions. I want to call it quits today. I will moonlight. So, how is it that you sort of cater to all of this? So that's my simple answer to this.
Yeah, very interesting. And I think, as the world gets more complex, one needs to be a little more flexible in their understanding of things also, because things change so fast now. No, this was really great. Thank you, Charu, for your time. But we do a rapid fire round before we let people go of this podcast. So I have a few questions, if you are okay with that, that is.
Sure.
Okay. So, what's one trait that you think every organization should have to have a great culture?
There is no one trait, Gaurav. But for me, it's going to be psychological safety.
Sure. Yeah. Good one. And what is that most underrated factor do you think today, which is kept for employee retention and creating great culture?
I would say as we grow in our careers, and especially with the Gen Z coming in as well, a sense of autonomy.
Lovely. What is that company or leader that you really get inspired from for the approach that they have had towards culture building in their organization?
There's no one leader or one company, Gaurav. Um, there are many. I mean, I spoke about Tata's a while ago. I've never worked with them, uh, but whoever I've interacted with, employee, customers, suppliers, vendors, contract staff, their whole presence in the media, um, they're definitely doing something right.
Working from office, remote or hybrid?
Oh, that's a tricky. I think it's both depending upon the role that you're doing.
Culture being created in more in the office space or remote space? What do you think is easier?
I would say both again. I'll tell you why, Gaurav. You need to be with each other to to live and breathe the ethos of the value system that you belong to. Um, it's always tough to just do this remotely, and therefore a personal connect always brings in emotions which cannot be replaced by being virtually present. So a bit of both. And the reason I say remote is because I do want to offer flexibility as well, but I do want people to come to work.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Hey, thank you, Charu. Thanks for your time. And, if the audience wants to reach out to you, what is the best way for them to reach out to you, Charu?
LinkedIn.
Okay, perfect. So just search for Charu Gulati on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you will go through her. Thank you, thank you, thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Yeah.
much, Gaurav. You take care.